Warning.
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 Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Welcome back. If you've been away, welcome back to the Personal Development Unplugged podcast, where we're going to break down the complicated, find simple steps, and make change easy and effortless. And one thing about change, this is what we were talking about in the previous FMQ. What are you afraid of losing? It's part of change, isn't it? You see, have you ever noticed this? The harder you try to find something, especially something in your life, the more it seems to slip through your fingers, doesn't it? I've really had this experience just this last couple of months where I've been doing a real lot of deep diving work for myself. And you see, you can go looking for passion, purpose, a direction now. And that's what I was doing. But it's like playing bloody hide and seek, and you're it all the bloody time. And as I said on that FMQ, I've been doing some, really quite deep personal work, trying to find something to fill in the void. And I'll tell you about that in a minute, because for various reasons, I'd lost direction. And can you imagine what that feels like? When you lose direction, you're looking around, things in your mind, but nothing seems to become clear. Words in your head don't seem to gel with you, and you can't get hold of it. And I was looking for something that I called my North Star, and that is, I could see it in my mind-ish, but it was just ish. I wonder, have you ever felt, something like that? Does that just spark something inside? I think we've all felt it sometime, and I've felt it really deeply over these last couple of months. So let me share my experience with you. You see, over the last few months, longer than the last couple of months I've been doing the deep dive for myself, things have changed in my life. There are things that I no longer do through choice. There are some things I'm doing instead, but some of the things I've let go were really quite deep, a deep part of me. They seemed part of my identity. Well, they were, I guess, back then. But I wanted to fill it. This void was just there. I'd lost, what I found I was losing was routines. Some of the roles I had, the different hats you wear, they seem to just disappear. Have you had that before? And it was like this void, which is a little bit like grief, I guess. Because grief, there seems to be that emptiness, doesn't it? And I was thinking now, maybe just grieving, having made some choices, made some decisions, and there was nothing to fill the void. And I can remember a long time ago, I'll tell you just a brief story, when I was at my trainer's training. First time there. Didn't want to be there. Certainly wasn't a trainer. And they just said, get with a group of people. And there's this flip chart, and just explain what NLP means to you. Nothing prepared. Bloody hell, shit, what am I going to do? And as usual, when these things happen, you go on first, which is really, you're on the spotlight, you're in the deep end. And I just came up with this thing that suddenly came inside, said, I started to draw on the flip chart, say NLP means to me this thing like this, and I drew a little circle at the bottom, sort of circle, a flat circle, ellipse type thing. And then I drew two lines going up, parallel lines. And I started saying, this is me with NLP, hypnosis. And people are looking at me going, what the hell's this bloke on about? I nearly said kid. I'd love to think I was a kid. And then I drew the rest of the candle. I said, this is what NLP and hypnosis means to me. It's so deep inside me. It's like this candle that every time I get to just use NLP, be hypnosis, have hypnosis. This is my life. This candle glows and grows. But the thing is now, the candle has dimmed a bit because of the things I've taken away. You see, on the one hand, I wanted more. And I wanted something to fill the void. But on the other hand, something was pulling me back. I couldn't see it. There's blank. And I know when, I've had questions before about when we do personal development, sometimes we have that sharp intake of where we're learning stuff and everything is so brilliant, and then it plateaus a little bit. And we get that worried anxiety about what's going to happen. Are we going to just drop off just like we used to? It's what happens with a lot of people when they lose a lot of weight, and then nothing doesn't happen at the same rate, so they just give up. And they're that close to the goal they want. Sometimes it's like you feel like after all that excitement, which is mega, just dropping off only a little bit seems massive, doesn't it? And I felt, I don't know if you felt this when it happens, I didn't really have a goal, but I was drifting away from whatever I wanted. It was getting further and further away. But the thing is, it's not that I didn't want more. I was finding something like this little voice in my head was saying, hey, be careful. And I'm thinking to myself, be careful? I want something. But it just didn't get me. Now here's the thing. When we think we're searching for something new, sometimes do we push ourselves a little bit harder? We fight against that feeling that's somewhere in here. I know I was ignoring it. And I didn't get it. I didn't get what was happening. And then something came to my mind. It was like, but what if? What if? Yeah. What if what's really going on is we're protecting something old, something from the past? Yeah. And I was trying to think, what was I trying to protect? And then it started to come back a little bit. It wasn't about fear of failure, because I just never had that fear of failure and things like that, because I got so excited. But it was a fear of loss. And that's when it really struck me. It hit me really hard. Fear of loss. What am I losing? Because I felt I'd already lost it by making a decision about stuff that I'd letting go and trying to find new stuff. But it was like I was losing stuff. And there was a part of me that was holding on. Think about what type of things we could lose when we're thinking about, certainly me on this, and I'm sure you're the same. It's like losing our identity. I've always been this way. I've always had things to do. I've always had things to prove to myself. Always had a routine. Always had to be a success. And now, that's gone. And I felt I was losing my own identity in that. I actually made a decision to leave it by. And just, when I'm talking about this, just see how this resonates with you. It might be just a little bit. It might be that little candle, or whatever your metaphor is. But certainly when you lose your anxiety, when you lose your identity in various things, or you think you've lost your identity, sometimes we get that social anxiety. And then we'll start thinking about leaving people behind. Sometimes it's about losing comfort. Certainly I was really comfortable in what I used to do because I knew what I was going to do. And now this was open. I get this fear now. I'm losing the comfort of what I had. Sometimes that's the same with issues. We'll talk about that in a minute. But it's also about maybe losing and belonging with a particular group or a thing. Again, part of your identity maybe, or maybe losing approval from people, from things. And then we get this anxiety, especially in personal development when we start moving up. We are no longer belonging to the groups we used to be. And we're maybe seeking approval from other groups. And then we get that belief, I don't belong here, I'm not good enough. And it starts cracking us up, doesn't it, a little bit? That loss. And then even losing, the familiar problems, our issues. Sometimes we get used to being fucking anxious, worrying. We're not happy until we've got something to worry about. Which is crazy, isn't it? Because if you let go of anxiety, you let go of your issues, your isms, you'd be free. But it means stepping outside of that, we call it comfort zone, but it's actually a familiar zone. We're familiar with all this stuff going on, or, this fear, the anxiety. But if we got outside this familiar zone, we would find out that barrier was just made up by these fears. And when we get to the other side, we find the world is wonderfully bright and happy. Also, when you think about goals, losing, maybe we won't get there. That sense of failure. And this was a little bit like me. I've got this void. I want new stuff. But what if I can't do it? And that affects your self-confidence. That affects your self-esteem. And who wants to lose self-esteem and confidence? But we haven't really got it that much anyway. Because we're moving on. But you see, no one, and this is the bit that no one ever tells you. Sometimes we hold on to what hurts because we're more afraid of losing it than we are of keeping it. Because it's familiar, isn't it? And how fucking stupid is that? But it seems so right, doesn't it? Seems so right. So let's have a little think. Let's have a little think for a moment. Just, if it's okay, maybe you could spend a moment or two with your eyes closed. Maybe just pause. You can use the eyes open. If you don't, maybe just lift up a newspaper. Who has newspapers, Paul? But just take a moment. Maybe if you can close your eyes, if it's safe to do so, but always make sure it's safe to do so. We're not going to go hypnosis, but we're just going to just reflect. Take a moment. And when we take that moment, I want you to just think. Think of something that you want, but you haven't moved towards it yet. Just bring it to mind, gently and easily. That's right. Something that you want, but you haven't moved towards. And gently ask yourself inside, with a wonderful, gentle, comforting voice, you've got that. And just ask yourself, what might I be afraid of losing if I did have this? Yeah, just think for a moment. Sometimes we get the answer in words. Maybe it's just a thought. Maybe sometimes we find a memory comes up or a word that's on the tip of your tongue. anyway is the answer. But maybe I can help you just for a moment. Would I lose certainty? Yeah, would I lose certainty? Would I lose who I think I am? That part of my identity. Would I lose that if I move towards the thing I really want? Maybe I would lose someone's approval. Yeah, that's a hard one, isn't it? Maybe. Well, just notice what comes up. Because whatever comes up is okay. Because it's your unconscious mind, or that part of you, that's now, you've opened the door, you've asked the question, and your unconscious mind always answers questions. It might not be just right now, but we've started a process. But whenever you get the answer, maybe right now, or maybe in a moment or two, or maybe when you're just in the shower, or just minding your own business, as it were. But just notice, is that loss real? Is it real? Or is it something your mind is trying to protect you from? Yeah, something your mind is trying to protect you from. There you go. And just notice what happens. You can open your eyes now. Just notice what you've got. If you can, write it down. Write it down so you've always got it, because you can work on it. I found when I was going through this deep work, I wasn't quite getting the full answer, but I'd write down what I got, and then maybe a minute or two later, or just as I'm making myself a cup of coffee or a G&T, like my little G&Ts, suddenly, now I understand. It was as if my unconscious mind said, just move out of the way, Cluffy. Here's what I want you to notice. And this is what I'm trying to protect you from. And then, you see, again, if it's okay, I want you to use your imagination now. Your imagination to drift a little deeper. Yeah? If you could just drift a little deeper for a moment. And imagine that thing you're holding on to. That fear of losing. And even if you can't describe it, feel it. And I want you to imagine, because it could be just an emotion in your gut, maybe in your heart, maybe in your throat, wherever it is in your body, imagine that you could see it, see that something in your hand. It's just a metaphor. So you just imagine that energy, all that thing, if you can see that thing in your hand. And I want you to imagine how tightly you're gripping it. How tightly you're gripping it. That's right. You can feel the muscles now. Gripping and gripping. And then just notice, what has it been trying to do for you? Protect you, keep you safe, keeping you the same as before. Remember that familiar zone? And I want you to do something quite strange as you're gripping this thing that you have a fear of losing. This metaphor. And just maybe, you can thank it. Yeah. Thank it for being there for you. Day after day. Week after week. Always on duty. Always trying to protect you. That's a wonderful thing. So as we acknowledge it and thank it, and just notice when you're ready with that feeling of gratitude and thankfulness, you can begin to loosen your grip. That's right. Just a little. And you see, you're not throwing it away. You're just holding it more lightly. And you see, as you do that, notice what you understand now, what is possible as you loosen that grip that wasn't before. Yeah, just notice all of that. And just let that go. Just let that go for a moment. You can open your eyes again if you did close your eyes. And maybe we can think of, a real life, back in the real world as we are, and notice, where does this show up for you the most? Where does this holding on, this fear of losing, show up for you? And again, recall where and what have you been trying to move toward? It's moving towards now. Moving towards, and that thing is holding you back. And just think, it could be as simple as, you want to move away from the thing that you always feel, staying in that comfort zone, as it were, that familiar zone. Maybe there's projects that you want to do, but you're just not getting there. Or that career move you want to do, or that relationship you want to take another step further. Or you just want to, but do you recognize any of those? I think you might just do a little bit. But you're holding on to those roles that no longer fit, aren't they? And I'm going to dive into that on a lot longer episode, or another longer episode, because there's so many different things that we can talk about that. But the thing is, I want to give you a little bit of a push, bit of a challenge. I want you to consider this. It's not laziness. It's not lack of motivation. That's just an excuse, by the way. It is that protection thing, isn't it? Because once we accept that, acknowledge it, and that's the work we've just done. Here's the empowering bit. If it's all about protection, you can choose what to do with it. Yeah, you get to choose what you do with that protection, because this is you. This is all about you. You can choose, as we've done before, do you want to hold on, or do you want to loosen the grip? You see, here's the thing. You're not stuck. You're not stuck one bit. You might feel stuck, but you're not stuck. You're just being careful. And the thing is, when you're just being careful, you could become curious, because that's a safe way of being, isn't it? Being careful and curious to find out new things. And when you do that, curiosity can become courageous. And when you're courageous, guess what? You are perfectly safe. And what I want you to think of is Maybe you give permission to that part of you that's been protecting you for so long, holding you back from fear of losing things. Just stand down for a minute. Give it permission to take a rest. It'll always be there for you if you need it, but just to take a rest. It's like a centurion or a sentry guard. Give it permission to stand at ease. At ease. Because this is all about just becoming careful and curious. Nothing to lose. That's what I did. And when I did this, I found so many different things that I could look towards. And some of them, I ignored. But some of them thought, oh, this is different. This is going to make my life richer. And as soon as that part of me, the one that was holding me back, as it were, afraid of losing stuff, suddenly said, oh, this is new stuff. This is good stuff. Might even be better than the other stuff, but it fits me right now. So have a think. You see, think about rippling, the ripples. The ripples of change go far and wide. You'll never know how far they go. But when you let go of what no longer serves you, because it no longer serves you, you don't just change your life. Oh, no. And your life will change immeasurably. I said before, you begin to be the example of what can be done. You become the example to show other people what's possible. Look at them. They did this. They were so good. And then they changed and they did this. I see them doing new stuff. And they're so, well, it just builds. It's infectious. And you become that wonderful example of growth. And the thing is, it's not just the example of growth to others. I can't say others, but you become the example to yourself. You suddenly understand what is possible, and then you become confident because of your competence. Because it's careful curiosity. That's competence. You give yourself permission now to go further and find a richer world. And then it's a bit like that butterfly I talk about, being on the other side of the world with it, just flapping its wings gently. But now you become the wind of change. Yeah. Because it isn't just about you. As I said, it isn't just about you. No, not at all. So let me just go back over something. Let me go back over it. Think of this. What are you afraid of losing? Imagine the one that interests you from these questions. What are you afraid of losing? And is that losing real or simply imagined? For me, it wasn't bloody real. In fact, it was holding me back from wonderful things. What is, and then going back into me again, what is that fear trying to protect you from? Ask the question, what is this fear trying to protect me from? And I say, for me, it was like losing my identity. And then I found that was bullshit. Because I'm me. And the richer things I find in life to fill that void, man, I build on all my experiences. I don't let go of the experiences I've had to find something new. I build upon them. What might prove possible when I loosen the grip? And that's exactly what I did. When I loosened that grip, things just became so much clearer. That candle inside me started to, it wouldn't roar because it's a wonderful candle, but it got brighter. And the brighter it got, the better I felt, the more curious I felt, and the richer my life became. And here's, as we talk about identity, who would you become if you allowed the change? Or say it this way, who would I become if I allowed change? Write that one down. Sit down quietly with your G&T, your cup of water, your whatever. Sit down quietly for 5 minutes and just go and repeat it. Who would I become if I allowed change? That's it. And I think, well, especially when you say, I give permission to that part of me to be at ease, to protect me when I need protecting. But just notice, that's a role that I don't need quite so much anymore. Not in that way. Yeah. Hopefully that has sparked something. It's resonated with you. That's my covert, because I've told you about it now, so it's not covert anymore. But that's the message I wanted to bring. I give you all these different ways of understanding that we think we're losing stuff and we're not. So I hope that sparks something in you. And I'd love to hear about it. You know how to do that? It's the email, feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. I'd love to hear everything that it sparked about you. And let me know. Please share this with as many as you can, certainly interested people, because you might be able to give them a nudge to be free, to find freedom. Free to be curious, courageous, creative, and just create a rich life for themselves. Never have it, but please press that imaginary button, or in my head, but it's on your player of choice to subscribe to this. That's the only two things. Pay it forward, and if this means something to you, please, oh dear, I couldn't breathe. Please press subscribe. That's all I ask. And what I wanted to say was, from the metaphor of who's driving your bus, because maybe you weren't quite driving it fully. No, you drive the bus. You drive the bus of your life. And I'm just here to maybe help you steer a little bit smoother. And if we get a puncture, I can come with a repair kit. There's metaphors coming out all over the place, isn't there? And just remember, if it's okay just to remember, to be reminded and re-reminded, you don't have to let go of everything, because you're going to build up on everything. And sometimes, just to reinforce it again, it's just about losing your grip, loosening your grip. And you see, you don't have to spit your dummy, throw everything out the window, just a little bit. Because when you start doing that, we'll start throwing loads of stuff you don't need out and finding new stuff. Have more fun than you stand, because, my friend, from Paul, Personal Development Unplugged, the podcast, anxiety to confidence and all that stuff, hopefully just lighten that candle a little brighter, because it's time to fly. Enjoy.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.